Welcome to Around the World in 80 Bottles. Today, we're continuing our trip in Greece in your own kitchen. Today we're going to do souvlaki, which is a very common street vendor food in Greece, although people make it at home often as well. Now, a lot of times you'll see souvlaki with lamb, but it's also very common with pork. I actually saw it a lot more with pork than with lamb, and it's probably because pork's a little less expensive. It's also going to be easier for you to cook at home. Now, you can do the same recipe with lamb, or you can even do it with fish. Now, what we're going to do with the souvlaki is tzatziki sauce, which, if you want to talk about Greek food, tzatziki is very prevalent. You'll see this a lot with heroes, which are the pita bread with lamb in them, and then the tzatziki sauce, which is kind of the hamburger of Greece. But we're going to do a little simpler, cleaner preparation today. But you can make this sauce again and put it on other things. So for our tzatziki sauce, we have got a lot of cucumber. Now, I will usually tell you put things in the food processor, it's a lot faster. I actually did my carrots and my onions in the food processor. The fennel, you just want to get the fronds without the stems, so I did that by hand. But I do my cucumbers by hand as well, because if you put it in the food processor, you're going to have a more bitter cucumber because it's got all the little seeds, and those will get chopped up in with your cucumber. So I just mince this by hand, and I've got no seeds whatsoever, which makes it a lot milder, more flavorful, and I've kept all of the juice that I can from the cucumber. So we're starting with cucumbers, and of course it's Greek food, so it's going to have plenty of garlic. Just minced that up. Our onions, our carrots, and our fennel. That fresh fennel really makes a difference in this. It makes the color so beautiful. It adds a little bit of texture, but it does make a big difference to use the fresh fennel. And of course, if you get a fennel bulb and you use a little bit of the fronds for this, you can chop up the bulb and cook something else. And I really like how you have a couple more meals. And then our food item this week is our Atlanta Fresh yogurt. It's made here in Georgia, but it's a Greek style yogurt. It's a little bit thicker. And I didn't pick it because it said Greek. I picked it because it's a nice thick yogurt. And it's non-fat. So it's nice and thick. And we're putting just enough yogurt to where everything holds together. You don't want a super milky tzatziki. I like it when you can really taste the vegetables instead of just having a sauce with a couple pieces of cucumber in it. So we've used a lot of good fresh vegetables, and like I said, enough yogurt to really make the whole sauce cohesive, but not to drown everything. Why use fresh fennel if you can't taste it? And a lot of times you'll see in restaurants they puree everything, and I think that's because they don't use enough vegetables. And once you make this at home and you see what it's really supposed to taste like, you will know the difference when you get something that's really just a dollop of yogurt. So we've got this really nice thick sauce that's going to go on top of our skewers. And like I said, you can use this for all kinds of things. I love doing pita sandwiches and just coating whatever I decide to put in there with it, even if it's vegetables. I do a sandwich a lot of times with hummus and cucumbers and carrots, and you put tzatziki in, and it's really, really healthy and fresh and summery. So now that we've got our tzatziki ready, we're going to let that kind of meld, get the flavors together, and this will hold for a while in the refrigerator, and it just gets better when it's got a little time for all the flavors to come out. And we're going to make our pork skewers. So what I've done is mixed a little bit of fresh lemon juice and some olive oil together. And we're going to use fresh oregano, and this is another one of those cases you can use the dried, but the fresh really brings out so much more flavor You can use more of it. It doesn't overwhelm the food. Just makes a huge amount of difference. So you're just going to pull those pieces right off the stems and add that in. And then I'm using cubed pork today. You can get a little better price on that than pork loin at the grocery store. And the thing is that it's already been beaten within an inch of its life. So it's very, very tender. You don't have to take it home and take the mallet to it. All you have to do is take those pieces of cubed pork and cut them into cubes. So just keep in mind, cubed pork does not imply that it's cut into cubes. It's just ready to go. But I like it because it's so tender that when I go to cook this, it literally takes about 6 minutes and that's it. And it's very, very tender. You don't have to cut it with anything. You just pick it up and eat it. So I'm going to take these pieces of pork and I'm going to roll them in my mixture of lemon juice and olive oil and oregano. And then I'm going to put it on a skewer. Now, one thing that I've seen done that's a lot more common than what I'm doing right now is to go ahead and skewer everything and then to roll it. But the reason I don't do that is because I don't have a space right here for a big dish. So if you have a big bowl where you can put all your juices in, that's a lot easier. And some people even put this on a plate and then drizzle it with the olive oil and the lemon juice and then sprinkle the oregano. I like rolling it because it actually attaches the oregano to the meat. So we're going to put that on a skewer. And there are two ways you can cook this. One is in a pan and the other is on a grill. Now keep in mind you want to soak these bamboo skewers in water before you use them or else they will splinter. Now there is one other thing you can do with this. You can cook the pork in the cubes and then put it on the skewer. It makes for a really pretty presentation. It's very easy to eat if it comes on the skewer, but it's easier if you're cooking it on the stove top to go ahead and cook it in individual pieces and then put them on the skewer. So what we're going to do is put that on my stove top for about 6 minutes total, and it's going to cook it right through. And here we have our finished product, our wonderful pork skewers. And I actually did the last option. I've cooked mine in cubes and then skewered it for ease of eating, but that also made it a lot easier for me to cook it on my stovetop. I'm going to serve this, and you can do this any way you want to. I really like a side salad with this, and it's very common to get a little bit of greens and a dressing of basically the same thing that we put on the pork. And French fries are also extremely common. So what I've done, instead of frying mine, I've baked them, and that just took about 20 minutes to get them nice and brown. And I like doing my fries the way the Greeks do as well. So what we're going to do to dress this, I'm going to put a little bit of that oil. Now you can mix this together. What I like to do when I'm making that oil, lemon juice, and oregano mixture that I use for the pork, I like to put a little bit over to the side and then I can dress my salads. But if you didn't save any, just put a little bit of that good Greek olive oil and a little bit of lemon juice and then some fresh oregano. Now what they do with their fries in Greece is lemon juice and oregano. The idea is the oil has already basically been used on the fries, except we did a healthier version with mine. But that makes such a nice fresh salad, and I love the lemon juice on the French fries. And the oregano really does add something. You're going to do the same thing, just kind of stripping the pieces off. We're going to throw some of those on the fries. So now that that's perfect, we only need one more thing on our salad. You can do this or not, but in Greece a lot of times they cut up pita and put it on the salad. And the variation on this, of course, would be to take the pita and stuff it with the salad and the meat. And sometimes they even put the French fries in the pita. So I'm doing it a little bit differently and putting it with the salad. Just adds a little bit extra to it. And then we're just going to add our skewers of souvlaki. And don't those look wonderful? And that, my friend, is a lovely, fresh, great Greek dish, but we're missing one more thing, and that's our tzatziki sauce. Now, a lot of times you can put the sauce just on the pork or whatever meat you're using. I like to put it on the side, and that way people can put as much or as little as they like. I also really like this with the fries, and this way you have something to dip it in. And there is our Greek souvlaki, done street vendor style, but a little more upscale. And with this, because this is so traditional, I'm doing a classic Greek white wine. And it's a Moschofilero from Boutari. It's a winery that's been around for a very long time, and a grape that's been around even longer. And it's got this very fresh, zesty, lemony component to it, and then a little bit of weight so that our whole dish isn't too light. But it really marries well with the sauce and even the fries and the oregano. So enjoy a glass with your souvlaki, and please join us next time on Around the World in 80 Bottles. I'm Emily Garrison. Cheers!